Hi, welcome back. I'm Catherine and this is an introduction to Lino Prints Part 2. I hope you enjoyed Part 1 and it wasn't too intense for you. We did cover a lot of ground. We covered a lot of stuff, probably twice as much information than we would have covered in a face-to-face class. I think mainly that's because I'm giving information and there's no dialogue of questions and queries or input from students coming back to interrupt or anything. So I guess that's a trade-off. Think of it as a trade-off. You're getting twice as much information for the forfeit, the live class. I have been known to give people a creative workout. So perhaps you've been practicing since the first session. Perhaps you've had a look online. Hopefully you have it sparked some interest and you've had a mooch around at the kind of possibilities of lino cut and print, the different cutting mark making techniques. Maybe you've even designed your own print plate ready for today. And if you remember, I talked about how you could design a print on the reverse side of the reversible easy cut lino, or if you've got other lino, you managed to get hold of some other lino at home and done your own design. That's great. Maybe you've got two designs to print in this session. Do you know what though? If you've totally just relaxed and not done anything, that's absolutely fine too. As I say, I've been known to give people creative workouts. So refreshed and ready for printing today. So usually students in the cutting part of the class will be very focused, and actually it's quite hard to get them to speak to each other or get a word out of them. And as a teacher, when I first started teaching, this was a bit hard for me to understand. I thought it was me. I thought that they weren't enjoying the class, but actually after a few times I worked out it's nothing to do with that. It's that you're so mindful and enjoying the process. It's quite a cathartic process. You're using part of your brain that's the opposite of the stuff that does the day-to-day and the planning, so you just fall into it and you're just not interested in talking to anyone basically. But the second half, which is what we're going to be doing in this session, the printing, by complete contrast, quite uplifting. People are amazingly excited and enthusiastic, and there's a little bit more pace to it, and very often people are stood up too. So that's why we're in my kitchen today, with a bit more room and access to a sink. So I'd say for this week, if you can and you have got access to a sink, then plonk yourself there. That's a good place to be. Okay, so I'd like to briefly outline the print process for those who are complete newbies, and the last session was perhaps the first they'd ever really heard about printmaking and lino cuts and prints. So the cutting is really only half of it, and I really want to stress the importance of the printing having equal weighting, equal importance. You'll never look at a print again, thinking about the work that's gone into all the preparation behind producing that print, but not just producing the print plate, the printing itself is equally as important and a completely different skill too. So I guess you've picked up 2 skills through doing this course. They go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. And also there's no right or wrong. I'm going to be doing demonstrations today, giving you tips and guidance. But please bear in mind that my intention really is for you to find your own personal style. Years ago I had a student, and she did lots of very, very faint marks and lots of really deep marks on a lino, and for me, I thought, how she thinks that's going to print, it's not going to print like that. I wasn't even sure how it would print myself, and that, I guess, as a teacher, it's your worst fear, that a student is going to be disappointed with the work that you've shown them how to do. It's nothing worse. But yeah, she just went for it with the printing. She got so excited with all the colours and was breaking every rule that I'd asked them all to kind of follow. Layers on layers of ink on a print plate, on a roller, a mess everywhere. And what she produced was so beautiful and so completely different to any work that anybody else had ever done. I was really impressed. There was just layer upon layer, and there was just all this texture all over the work. So students teach me new things all the time, and I think that was the point where I decided to keep my tuition, the way that I teach, as open as possible and let my students explore and play and find things out for themselves. So please bear that in mind today. Okay, finally, printing. Yes, the basic principle, and I know we touched on this last week. So you are going to be using block print inks, and block print ink is specifically chemically tacky. It's designed specifically to be used with a roller, rolled onto a surface like lino plate and stamped down. And it's as simple as that. It's as simple as taking your hand and sticking it in paint and printing it on paper. So also bear the simplicity of the process in mind. Next, I'm going to talk about materials and equipment. So I'm going to talk through the materials and equipment list line by line. I've got it to hand here, and it's the list that you will have been given when you first booked this online course. So hopefully you've got everything to hand with you right now. We can go through it together. If not, hit pause, go and get everything that you think you need, bring it back and continue the tutorial. I'm going to basically be giving you some information, tips, things like that I've learned from my experience over the years. Okay, so number one is of course your lovely, well-designed print plate. Have that ready. Points on this, I don't want to say very much other than when I look at the print plates that I've used quite a lot, they're really soft and squishy, and it's really helpful. I've noticed that when you come to print it, not only are they easier to roller the ink onto because they just go super flat, and also the printing. When you very first, and yours will be like this, cut a liner, it's so stiff. It's like all the connections in the material aren't yet broken down. So what I will say before you do any printing is give it a wash in some hot soapy water. Use the soft side of a sponge, not the scoury side, because it will put little marks on it. The washing will take off any pencil marks, any oily finger marks. It'll get rid of any burrs, any little bit of loose ends that you don't want on there at all. So have a good wash, and it will also help to soften it up. So as you are washing it in the sink, give it a good squish. You're not going to break it, you're not going to damage it. You might find that if it does tend to be quite stiff, it curls up at the edges, which is it's a little bit annoying when you come to printing. But it will soften up as we go. It's not the end of the world, but that will help you. Just a tip before printing on your print plate. Number two is one of the most important things is the inks. And if you are going to sort of set yourself a budget for lino print as a hobby or something, I would say your inks is the thing to invest in out of anything. They're the thing that's going to make it more enjoyable for you to work with. I guess it's like anything, you get what you pay for, don't you really? So I've got a few different inks here that I wanted to just briefly talk through. I don't want to go on about it too much, but if you've got one of my kits and you've got the little pots, this is the brand of ink that you've got in those pots, and it's a student to professional quality ink, SD. So it's that French brand that we talked about in part one that makes rollers, and they make the lino cut tool. So these tubes are fine. These are great. I've not really got a problem with any of the inks that I've tried over the years. So they're about £6 or £7 for this 300ml tube. Probably quite big for you just to use on your own. Obviously, I use probably a couple of tubes of these over 6 months, something like that, when I'm teaching. But yeah, they're a great quality ink. No problems with those at all. They do smaller tubes. This is 300ml, I think £6 or £7, but then the smaller tubes are 100ml and they're about a £5, so it's not even worth it. You might as well get the larger tubes and maybe share them with somebody else who you know would want to have a go with lino print as well. The next brand I want to talk about in terms of inks, I'm not sure if you've heard of this one too, is called Speedball. And it's an American brand, and if you typed block print ink into Amazon or something like that, Speedball would probably come up. It's the most well known. I think it's because it's an American one. They've been going years. They're great. They've got so many different colours. They don't do particularly big tubes like this. This is a 75ml tube, and I think this was £6 or £7 as well. So same price, but obviously less than a third of the quantity. Quality wise, yes, a better quality in terms of it's pastier. It's not quite as runny. But if I'm being honest, price difference wise, there's not a big enough jump in quality. There's nothing that you can do with this that you couldn't do with this if you worked the ink for a bit longer and got more air into the ink. It would turn less runny, more pasty, just like this. So I'd say similar level of pigment, in my experience anyway, when I've used them. The great thing about Speedball is if you are going to print onto fabric, you will need a fabric specific ink, and that just means it's got a chemical agent added to the ink, which when it's activated by an iron, so you do your printing on the fabric, you iron it after it's dry, and then it can be put in the washing machine. So you could do a t-shirt, you could do a bag, scarf, napkins, anything really, cushions, whatever. T-shirts is probably the most popular one that people do. But this has got the chemical agent added into the ink, and there's lots of colours available in this fabric specific block print ink. So yeah, they do last quite a while, and let's see, yeah, and they do it in this smaller 35mm size. I tend to go through these quite quickly actually, but they've got some nice metallics and some fluorescence as well, so good choice, good brand. Next brand I want to talk about is a step up to this German brand called, and I'm going to have to read it because I always say it wrong, Schminker or Schmink. It's German. You might know it. They do oil paints. They're very traditional artists brand, and they do lots of oil-based block printings. Everything so far, including this one, by the way, is a water-based ink, so it's quite easy to clean up afterwards. And if you get it on your clothes, it's not too much of a problem. It'll come out in the wash. So yeah, Schminker. These are just 35mm. I find that these are a lot glossier and a lot runnier out the tube. So they last longer. However, they take quite a bit of working and rollering to get them to this pasty consistency that's tacky enough to use on lino. However, having said that, that would be a downside. The upside would be they're super highly pigmented, and the prints that you do produce a noticeable difference to the other inks I've just talked about. So I think they do a kit actually. There's £6 or £7 for this tube. It's 35mm tube, so it's on par with the Speedball ones, but they do a starter kit with a few colours in. I'm sure it's £22, £23, something like that, and you get, I think, 4 colours in it, so 4 or 5 colours even. So yeah, it's worth investing in something like that. Out of all the inks so far, I would definitely, despite the consistency being not my ideal consistency, I would go with these so far. And then the last brand that I want to talk about in terms of ink is my favourite brand of inks that I've just discovered in the last 12 months, and it's just reignited my love of lino print, and it's the Cranfield Browns, and they're called Caligo Safe Wash Relief Inks. And if you read any blogs about lino printing or any websites or articles, people rave about them. Caligo they do lots of oil based, like traditional oil based inks, which for anyone who doesn't know, that oil based generally is more highly pigmented and produces a better print in the end. These are oil-based, but they're so clever. They've made them somehow in the chemical composition that they're just hand wash with soap and water. They'll just be as easy to clean as these water-based inks. So you don't have to get the terps out, is what I'm saying, which is really, really good. And you will really notice a difference when you start to print with these. It's just effortless. The ink almost does the work for you. And I don't have this feeling of, oh, is it going to print? Is it going to be a good print? Am I going to like it? Every time, they just look beautiful. 17 colours, I think I counted today when I had a look. Yeah, lots of colours available. Yeah, I would 75mm as well, and they're £6 or £7. So definitely both economical, performance of the ink's brilliant. It's whether or not you wanted to invest in quite a few colours when you're first starting out and you've never done lino print before. But yeah, I've not found a better ink than these to use. And also because they're oil based, I think it is because they're oil based that they do this, but you can print onto fabric, let it dry, and actually, without even having the chemical agent in, somehow they're pretty resistant to machine washing at 30 degrees, and you could print onto napkins. It's not going to come off on people's clothes or anything like that, or t-shirts, things like that, so it's worth having a go. Alright, so I think that's it on inks, apart from one last point. I sell these pots, I think I did mention, but I'll say it again anyway. I do sell these pots of inks, these SD colours. So if you did get a kit and you've only got the black and the extra colour, this one's a cobalt blue here. If you wanted to try out any other colours, I do sell them as pots in pairs. So you could pick another pairing of, I don't know, a mustard and a green to go with your other two colours that you've got. Okay, roller, of course. The next, I would say after the inks, the second most important item of your kit, of your equipment, is going to make a big difference to your experience of lino printing and how the prints look in the end. Again, the same as with the inks, you can spend a fortune. I mean, this was £6 or £7 retail, something like that. It's just a 4-inch mid-quality roller. You could go on, there's a website called handprinted.co.uk. If you went on there and looked for a similar roller, they're £30. There's a brand called Hawthorne, and there's some Japanese rollers. You can spend a fortune. For me, it's not necessarily the quality of the roller which improves the outcome of your print necessarily. It's what you do with the roller, it's how you use it. I think people tend to have bad habits when it comes to using rollers or brayers, sometimes called brayers. So hopefully I'm going to show you the best way to use them today. When you are looking for a roller, you will get this roller if you bought one of my kits, and I sell them separately in my Etsy shop. If you're going to buy one from elsewhere, any other artist's equipment website, go for one that's not too hard, not too soft, and they will say in the description hard roller or soft rubber roller. I would go for something like 4 inches, probably a good size to go for in the beginning. If you think about the size of your lino, this is just going to cover the surface of your lino. Any smaller would also work, smaller roller, 3-inch would also work, it would be fine. A bigger one would also work, wouldn't be a problem, but the bigger one you're going to be using a lot more ink. So yeah, if you wanted to get more than one roller, I would probably get 2 of the same size, or get a 3-inch and a 4-inch, and that should pretty much cover you for everything you're going to do in the beginning for certain. And who knows, you may need a bigger roller if you start to do huge work after this course, perhaps. Tray. This is just a regular cheapy plastic craft tray. I use bits of old acetate that are left over from picture frames where I don't want to have the plastic in it. I've replaced it for glass. Sometimes I use this in my workshop just because it's easier for people to quickly clean off. But I mean, ultimately, you just need to use any flat, smooth surface. I mean, the key thing really is flat. You don't want to damage your roller if you're using a worktop that's maybe got a, you know, if it's planks that are nailed together, you don't want to ridge in it or anything like that. And you also don't want to use a surface that's porous, so wooden worktop, anything like that, piece of wood, anything like that, granite, nothing like that. You don't want the ink to stain it, especially with these, if you do end up using these inks that have got some oil content in them. You need definitely an artist palette knife because you're going to have this step in it. This will actually be invaluable. Not only does it help you mix colours, and we will be doing a little bit of colour mixing in this demonstration that I do, but it will also help you scrape excess ink away from the sides and into the middle. I'm very big on not wasting. Why would you put ink in the bin? You might as well just stretch yourself, and you know, even if you're tired, push to doing that one last print so that it'll probably be your best print. That's what normally happens to me. But yeah, don't waste ink. And in fact, as the ink starts to dry out, inks are designed to slowly dry out. You'll find that the ink that's left around the edges is like the best kind of ink. It's got the best consistency, and it just sits because it's so claggy, almost like a toothpaste sort of texture. It just sits just on the top. You don't have to worry about it sinking into any of your grooves and channels. So this is going to be one of your best friends. We're going to need something to print onto, and as I say, if you got one of my kits, you would have this in there. I buy these in bulk and I use them in quite a lot of my workshops, and it's just a pack of cards, white cards. They're 250-gram cards, and part of the reason for that is because when people are picking up a physical card, they don't want to feel something that's thin and flimsy. You don't want it bending over in the corners. So they're 250-gram weight, and there's a pack of 10 and they're 6-inch squares with envelopes. So we're going to be printing onto these, or if you sourced your own version of it, something like this at home. If you decide that you don't want to make greetings cards, you're not going to send anything like that to anyone, or you're not happy with the prints, I don't know, you can always just cut down the score line in the middle, and then you can print onto either side, and you can come away with a lot more, twice as many prints, 20 prints instead of 10 cards, which would enable you, as printers do, to then assess sort of your printing yields, what your print work that you've done in that particular printing session, and you can select the best ones, and you can just, you know, put aside the ones that you're not happy with. For me, it's the prints that don't follow the rules that are the most interesting ones. So the ones with the little flaws in, they're the best ones. Yeah, so additional to the 6x6-inch bases to print on, if you could also have, for this demonstration, some A4 paper. You could print onto any A4 paper actually for the purpose of the session. However, if you're wanting to pitch your work as artist professional work, you need to be using a proper paper. And by proper paper, I mean something like Kent paper. If you've heard of Kent paper, it's a particularly well-known printmaker's paper. It's about 190 gram, 190 to 200. Paper will find it really easy to draw the ink off the surface. If it's a heavier paper, a heavier card, it's not going to be as easy. It will still work, but it will produce a different quality of ink. So yeah, that's paper, A4 paper. 2 or 3 sheets should be fine. Let's see, what else have we got? Later on, I'm going to be demonstrating a technique, a collage technique, or a technique called sheen collé. I'll explain more later, but for now, in terms of materials, what you need is either some newspaper or music score sheet in this case, or just a bit of tissue paper left over from a gift or something like that. It's just some scrap, and we're just going to be gluing down. Well, I don't want to explain too much what we're going to be doing in sheen collé. We'll be doing a mixture of collage and sheen collé, but you'll need a Pritt stick. Let's see, some masking tape, of course, have that to hand. Something that everybody might have at home or can get hold of quite easily is just A4 photocopier paper. So you can order that from the supermarket or order it online, or you've hopefully got a printer at home. You can choose it. I'd say 10 to 15 sheets should be enough to complete this demonstration that I'm going to be doing today, so have that to hand. So access to a sink. If you haven't got access to a sink, it's not very easy for you to print in your kitchen like I'm going to be doing today. Just get yourself a washing up bowl and fill it with hot soapy water. An old rag or old towel, this should be fine. I cut my old towels into rags for this purpose. Dry, that's going to be for drying off your hands, and your print plate as you've washed it. And I always keep, and it's really handy, it's just a damp, this is like an old face flannel, a damp cloth. Just have that on your worktop so that when stuff does get stuck on your fingers, it's really easy just to wipe it off. So that is everything. That's everything you're going to need. Have that all ready. You are going to need it all, I'm afraid. Get yourself a cup of tea as well, and sit down and get ready for the next section.